Hello, everybody. This is Brian keeping Walt and Disney in Canis Corpore Transmuto. I'm going to turn into a dog now. In Canis Corpore Transmuto and a dosido. Hope everybody's having a great Thursday night. Thanks, everybody, for joining in. See lots of familiar folks, and gonna let Jared in here in just a second. We're gonna talk about the Shaggy Dog. And there's Jared. I guess I'll let him in, He's kind of a cool guy. I think I let you in. Give him a sec to go online. And there he
Hello.
is. Hey, Jared. What's up?
How are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you good. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah,
How's it
everybody in the
going?
chat, give us a thumbs up if you can hear us okay or if we're having problems. I'm doing good. How are
I
you?
mean, that's, I guess good is better than bad, I suppose. I'm doing good too.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. You're going to Disneyland a lot lately.
Well, no, not, well, kind of.
Yeah. Just kind of, sort of.
Not really, but it's harder with this new, because I have the pass,
Hmm.
but you have to do all these reservations, and a lot of
Yeah.
times it's not available, and yeah,
My
I
props aren't
know.
working today. Yeah, I know. Reservations kind of throw a thorn in plans sometimes. I guess
Yeah,
if you're like at folks at Disney World have to like resort to writing, I need tickets on a cardboard box waiting outside of the park. So I
it
need I
is what
need a
it is.
reservation or I need tickets or I don't know. I haven't been since last July. I haven't been to Disney World since December of 2019. It's been a
Oh, I
while.
haven't been to Disney World since they were building Splash Mountain.
Oh boy, that
So
that
I don't even
was
know, 92, like it was
that
early
was quite a few
90s.
years ago.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble keeping up with everybody in the chat. So hello everybody. I'm waving at you guys. I see my brothers in there, Ryan,
Oh,
and
hello.
I don't Ryan Treasures, one of my good friends who we actually met in New York City in February. I think I may have mentioned that last time, but we saw that exhibit at the Met Museum, the Walt Disney and the French arts or something like that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
good
and
times.
Ryan just said Splash Mountain opened in 1992. So it must
Yeah.
have been like right before it opened, or I think it was 92 when I went. I don't think it was 91. I could be wrong, though.
Hmm.
That was a long time ago.
Okay. I see Guy Spagnoli joined. He's a ex-cast member, and I've heard him on quite a few podcasts. So thanks, Guy, for joining in. Yeah, Ryan, you're gonna have to be our fact checker guy today because I don't think Chris is gonna join us. I have not heard from him today, so we'll see if he chimes in later. But Jim is in. Jim Miles, our good friend,
Yes, I saw that Celebration Disney.
and Clocky, my buddy from Sent from Disneyland. If you guys aren't following Sent from Disneyland, you need to follow his account. It's so fun. He shares Disney history through postcards. It's really fun. So yeah, so you've been going to Disneyland a lot. I've been
No,
working.
okay.
Actually,
I've been working a lot,
yeah.
and now I'm on a little break.
Oh, good.
So I
Yeah,
went to Disneyland.
that's good. You deserve it. Yeah, you work
Yep.
hard. I've been dealing with contractors because we had a leak upstairs in our house that leaked all the way down from our upstairs bathroom down the wall, like destroyed our pantry, destroyed the closet our water heater's in. So we've had a lot of contractors and fans running and been real
Ugh.
noisy. And now we're just waiting for someone that wants to do all the work to build it back together. So anyways, let's talk about more happy things like the Shaggy Dog. This is a
Shaggy Dog.
great movie.
It is. I
Yeah,
haven't watched it in a while.
yeah, me too. I watched it twice today.
Oh, wow.
Well, once just the regular version, and then I watched my DVD copy here, which has the commentary with Roberta Shore, Tim Considine, Tommy Kirk, and Kevin Corcoran are all talking about great memories as they watch the film with you.
I did. I watched it with the commentary as well, and I loved when
Mhm.
they were making fun of each other. Well,
Yeah.
just making fun of the process a bit, like
Hmm.
not, you know what I mean, not making
Yeah.
fun, but
Yep. They're just having a good time together. Well, like we always do, let's go ahead and show off some of our props, and we'll try to knock out some of the music that's performed and some of this, and try to keep this at a reasonable length. We won't go for an hour and 40 minutes, which is the running time of the film.
we will not. No, we're
We've done
gonna,
that
yeah.
before, so go ahead, uh, Jared, and show
Well,
us what you got. I think you have a laser disc.
I do have a laser. Well, I have basically what I have for a lot of
Whoa.
these. Sorry, I have, of
That's
course,
okay.
the beta tape,
Yeah.
Shaggy Dog. I do not have a beta player, but I love these covers, so I can't get rid of them. And
Yeah.
then, of course, the laser disc, which is great. I
Cool.
believe I got it for like $3 at Amoeba.
I love Amoeba music.
And then, of course, the VHS, which is a little bit
Hmm.
more dinged because I've watched it more.
Looks like a previous bottom shelf rental,
It
or
was, yeah. It's
it,
all
it, it faced the window in the sunlight.
exactly. It's all faded.
Yeah.
Uh, Much like this little novelization of the Shaggy Dog, which they picked. It was an interesting that they picked Roberta Shore to be on the cover.
Yeah.
Like
That.
not nothing against the Roberta Shore, but you know, if they have Annette in the
Hmm.
movie, wouldn't you think they would
Yeah. Well,
promote it with her?
I'll
But
talk a little bit about why that she might be on the cover here in a sec, but sure.
and then of course the DVD as well, and my little
Oh,
box to display this. But do
I
you
got
have
that
this
too.
book? Do you have
What
this
is
Wonderful
that?
World Disney book?
No, not until you
So
send me your copy. I won't have a.
uh, I'm gonna try to put this on my phone on a little stand. But
Okay.
basically, the the you open the cover and it plays It's a Small World, but it's kind of fading big time,
Hmm. Oh,
big time.
okay.
But it has a whole bunch of different uh, little stories in it.
Oh, neat. Ryan has
So
that
from
book
Wonderful World
set.
of Disney, yeah. So it's Pollyanna, Big Red, Swiss Family Robinson, Darby
Ooh.
O'Gill, Old Yeller, and the Shaggy Dog.
Raise your hand if you've
So
seen Big Red in the comments.
I've seen it.
I've seen it. Good movie. Severely underrated.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So those
Great
are my
movie.
little Shaggy Dog. Yeah, Big Red was great. I mean,
Yeah.
no Pollyanna great, but
No, but a great story.
totally.
Yeah, and it'll live on in obscurity if Disney doesn't put it on Disney Plus.
Ooh, I like all those hands going up
Yeah. Oh, look at the yeah.
in the
Of
comments.
course, Jim's seen it. Ryan's seen it. Miss Skaters has seen it. She's like my
Whoops.
favorite. Okay, Miss Skaters is awesome. We need to figure out how to do this like in a whole group and have her. Maybe we'll try Zoom one of these days,
Okay.
and everybody can join in. I'll try to plan one of those where we can do something. Of course,
Did
MD
I ever
Snotty's seen it. Hey, Elmer.
did I tell you I don't remember if I did or not. But so we'd always have Zoom calls for work
Hmm.
this past season. And I always do a background. And so
Yeah.
this season, I decided every day I was going to do a different live action Disney film from the 50s, 60s, and 70s as my background.
That's
So
perfect.
I was able to educate a lot of people on a lot of different old Disney films, including Big Red and the Shaggy Dog.
That's awesome.
And it's so crazy to me that people haven't ever even seen Pollyanna or haven't ever even heard of Pollyanna.
Well, those guys will have to
So,
face the judgment day sometime. So, all right. Well, I want to, before I show you my goodies, Ryan mentioned something that's kind of bugged me a little bit, and that's it's almost been a year since Disney Plus added a Walt era film to Disney Plus.
are you kidding me?
The last one was in May of 2021 and was The Happiest Millionaire. And it has been crickets for Walt era content since then. In the meantime, we've had 42 Marvel series. Oh, it's just sad, you know.
It it
It
is
makes me
sad. It's
sad.
all this content that they have for free. I don't know technical stuff. I don't know
Yeah.
how much how much content
Hmm.
you can have for everything to run smoothly or whatever.
Right.
But I I just don't understand. There's
Well,
so much free content.
yeah. I wish that, I mean, I don't want to complain about it all the time. I feel like I do. But if they would just like offer an explanation as to why they don't add some of the stuff, then that would kind of ease my pain. But they don't
Yeah.
even do that. So, yeah.
Oh well.
Oh, then that's even worse. Right? So it's been almost 2 years since they even added the Walt era TV episode. So, like none of those Disneyland specials, like why can't they add Walt Disney Goes to the World's Fair or the Tencennial episode? Those would be great to start. Anyways, let's talk. Yeah, thank goodness we have YouTube and DVD players. We have our own copies we can enjoy. So,
YouTube is fantastic for
yeah,
some of this
and
stuff.
I've been thinking about uploading some things onto YouTube that I have, but there's quite a few channels out there that do a lot of that uploading. So if you're ever wondering if an episode is out there, just type it in the search bar, hit enter, you can find it most of the time. So that's good. It's really up to us as fans to keep this stuff alive.
For
So
sure.
that's why we do this. And so we're going to try to keep on topic. We're going to talk Shaggy Dog. We're not going to talk about stuff that we're bummed about with the company, and we'll just have a good time. So, but I do have a lobby card set for the Shaggy Dog, and I will show you some of those as we go on. I have the 1959 album, which is an interesting album because it's like it doesn't have the big Disneyland Records
Oh
logo. It
wow.
has a little one up there, but
Yeah.
there's no title. So unless you were familiar with the cover art, you probably be like, well, what's this? It's a way to bring down the room.
Wow.
So this is a great album. And you mentioned Roberta Shore earlier. She is featured in several songs on this album. So there she is right there. There's Roberta. Focus,
Oh.
focus, focus with the Shaggy Dog, or Sam is what his name was. And this is a fun record because it's narrated by Sam, who is
Oh really?
voiced by Paul Frees on this album. He does a very good dog voice throughout this record. It's got some great songs. And if you
Well,
want
I'm sure we'll talk about Paul Frees a
yeah,
bit
I'll tell you what I'll
later.
do. If you guys send me a DM if you want an audio file of this album, since it's no longer in print, just send me a DM and I will send you this audio from this record. It's really cool. So if you're listening now, shoot me a DM after it's over, write it down somewhere so you don't go off and have to come back in. But when we're done tonight, just send me a DM and we'll coordinate that via maybe Dropbox or something like that. So here's some of the songs that are on it. Like, Did You Ever Hear a Dog Talking? Estrelita, Shaggy Dog Shag, C'est Chiffon, Doggone It, It's a Dog, You're My Friend. That's sung by Moochie. C'est Chiffon, sung by Roberta Shore. So she's featured on a lot. And the Shaggy Dog theme song, she sings it here. So that's
I
kind of what,
I love
yeah.
how it says the song is includes my by myself and the toy poodles.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. By
So
myself and the toy poodles.
one
Just,
of them says,
it's
but
such a good album.
it's so funny. I love that.
You get
Roberta
you
Shore
get
and
a,
Moochie.
yeah, you get Sweet Adeline by the Hound Dogs. So that's like a barbershop quartet of dogs. And the Shaggy Dog Cha 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 is really fun. Vocal by myself. So, and inside this album is this really neat insert. I got lucky because this is like a loose leaf insert in the album, and I can't imagine how many of these got lost over the years.
Yeah, for real.
So my album that I bought had this inside, and this it's just a neat little insert. I'll probably have to go with the overhead view here, but just again, all the type here is written by Sam, and he talks about how he rose to fame and got the part. And there's some neat pictures of Fred MacMurray. All my notes are getting in the way. And there's another picture. We'll talk about Sam getting his PJs on later. Sam driving a car later.
Sam apparently
Here's
using
a
a
fun
typewriter.
shot of like maybe during a day of filming where Sam and Kevin Corcoran and Annette are having a little fun. They're taking
That's
a break.
awesome.
There's Sam getting frisked by Officer Hanson. There's Annette with Sam. Probably Annette is, they had to do 3 hours of school a day during filming. And so there's Annette getting in some study time. And just a lot of awesome photos.
A lot of Annette.
Yeah, a lot of Annette. There's the gang. Annette, Tommy, Roberta, and Tim. And, oh, I love this picture. Fred and Gene Hagen, who we'll talk about a little bit later. And, hey, hope you like my movie. So, again, if you want the audio from this album, just hit me up with the DM later. I'd be glad to share that.
That's super nice. I'm sorry,
yeah.
everyone. I don't have anything for you.
Well,
I just have my sparkling wit and charming personality.
Hey, and without that, we wouldn't be the dynamic duo that we are. Well, here's another album. This is so the Shaggy Dog was released in '59. It had a re-release in '67. Can you guess what the film was re-released with?
Please say, please say No Mobile, but probably not.
No. Close. The Shaggy Dog and the Absent-Minded Professor. So this is one of those cool dual cover albums from 1967. It has side one is music from the Absent-Minded Professor with Fred MacMurray singing the Flubber song. And on the back, it has some of the tracks from the album I just showed you. So
I love that artwork.
Yeah. Isn't this cool? It's so neat. Love it.
By the way, I cannot read. For some reason, I'm not seeing any more comments.
Oh, okay.
So it just stopped with everybody's hands in the air saying that
they
really? Something read. Yes.
Well, you guys can go ahead and send your comments after I post this video, and we'll answer them after the fact. We'll do our best to keep up with things. So that's the goodies. Really quick, the music. Paul Smith was the composer for a lot of the music on the. And I just cannot get my stuff to. I'm gonna have to hold my phone today, I guess. I'll just leave it like that. Blah blah blah. Paul Smith and Gil George wrote some of the lyrics for the songs. Gil George is a pseudonym for who?
Oh my gosh!
Come on, chat room. Do they know? Gil George was credited with a lot of music and lyrics for Disney songs. Gil is not her real name. It is. See, Chris would be all over this. I'm sure Elmer knows. So starts with an H, ends in Azel. So Hazel George, there you go, Jim. Hazel George went by the name of Gil George when she served in that capacity as a lyricist and writer. And that's right. Jim is correct. Walt's nurse. So that was her daytime job. At night, she wrote lyrics for the Shaggy Dog. So, yeah, that's the music. Great, great soundtrack. Spooky soundtrack. Kind of an interesting soundtrack.
Uh, Interesting, I would say, is the best word for it.
Yeah. It is very sitcomish music, and we'll talk about that later. So,
Mhm.
what do you got in terms of background for the film? Anything?
The
Uh,
only, I mean, it's pretty. The only background kind of stuff that I had is they originally were not filming it to be a theatrical release.
right.
It
Mhm.
was supposed to be a couple episodes on the. I never know what the TV show was called because I feel like it changed names a lot.
Yeah.
Wonderful World of Disney,
It
Magical World of
was
Disney, Wonderful World
probably
of
Walt
Color,
Disney Presents at this
Walt
time.
Disney
So
Presents.
it was Disneyland until a couple years after the park opened. Then it was Walt Disney Presents, and then it changed to the Wonderful World of Color.
Okay, so
Yeah,
yeah, so
it just say Disneyland Anthology TV show, and you're covered.
okay, great.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were originally going to film it for the Disneyland Anthology show, and
Hmm.
you know they filmed it in black and white, partly because it was cheaper to do that, and it was going to be on TV, and partly because it was going to be on TV.
Right.
You know, at that point. But then, partway through the filming, they decided, this could be a theatrical release. And it actually ended up being the highest grossing film of 1959,
Yeah.
which, so I did a little math. In 1959, it made $9.6 million. It was released in March. I think Ben-Hur came out that
Hmm.
year at
Yep.
Christmas. And so I think technically maybe Ben-Hur might have made more money, but it was only in 1959 for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
You know what I
According to
mean?
Kevin Corcoran, it actually outgrossed Ben-Hur that year. Maybe
So
not in the
it
long
made,
run, but
yes.
yeah.
Well, it made $9.6 million. And so I did some math today, and that would equal $94,846,680 if it was released in 2022.
Not bad for a $1.2 million film.
No, absolutely
M.
not.
Skater said it won an award for visual effects. Okay, I believe that. I didn't look that up, but that sounds right. Great effects, special effects. Eustace Lysett was on this, and he was in the special effects department. Awesome dude.
Yeah, I um
Hmm.
I just had fun rewatching this.
Yeah. So let me talk a little bit about that whole, it was supposed to be a TV show thing. So back in 58, Walt had a pitch meeting with the ABC vice president of programming, Jim Aubrey. And Walt was selling it as a story of a boy who turned sheepdog and wanted to make it a weekly TV series. So ABC, they did Zorro and oh, Miss Skater says no black and white for visual. Yeah, okay, visual effects. So, kind of like Absent-Minded Professor, why they decided to do black and white for that because it was easier to kind of hide things like wires and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, back to Walt selling the story of the sheepdog as a weekly TV series. Well, ABC had done Zorro and they wanted Walt to do more westerns like, El Fago Baca, Swamp Fox, Texas John Slaughter, Daniel Boone, all those things that he was really good at, and he did after this movie, or some before and some after. But I think when the ABC guy heard What, a boy turning into a dog weekly TV series? No, that's not what you're known for, Walt. We want Westerns. So he kind of made up this excuse, looked at his watch, apologized, and said, I got a meeting, so I'm out of here. Well, uh, it turns out that, well, we all know, right? Walt decided to make this a, a feature film. And a few years later, Don Tatum, one of the studio execs, met Aubrey at a meeting somewhere, and he said, "Hey, thanks a lot for turning us down. You made us quite a few dollars, and we put a little shrine, in your honor, the studios, because not only did this first live action comedy for Disney be a great success, it kind of jump-started a whole genre of Disney films following. So
It did.
yeah,
All these not wacky, but set in reality, but kind of like this mystical or magical element as well. Type
hmm
comedies came out of it.
yeah, and some of those are like The Absent-Minded Professor, Son of Flubber. Both films starred Fred MacMurray, interestingly enough.
Yeah, and Tommy
But
Kirk.
and Tommy, yeah, right. So this is really like the first movie I feel that starred like what we like to refer as the Disney family, and just a lot of familiar faces we'd see in films throughout the '60s.
Hmm.
So lots of great comments coming in here. Ryan asks if we read the Leonard Maltin review in the Disney films. Yep, that's what I used to research. I have that book on my coffee table. Gimmick comedies, yeah, eeky comedies, wacky comedies, right? All of the above. So we talked about it was a low budget, $1.2 million, first live action comedy, first film for Fred MacMurray at the Disney Studios.
Yep.
And this film was based on a book, sort of loosely based on the book, The Hound of Florence. Did you do any research into the book?
I did not do research into the book.
Okay.
No.
No worries.
I was at Disneyland all day yesterday.
Yeah. So the book was written by Felix Salten, and this was not his first Disney project. Well, this was not the first book that he wrote that was turned into a Disney film. This was his third.
Oh,
So that's
really?
a good trivia question for folks in the chat. Miss Skater's got one of them, Bambi. That's right. And the other one is Walt Disney's only live action fantasy from 1957. So it was kind of a blend of the true life adventures and a live action film. So that was 1957. See if anybody can guess what that film is. Walt Disney's only true life fantasy. Elmer got it. Perry.
Perry
I
the
love
Squirrel.
Perry, bright-eyed and merry. Perry, the little girl squirrel. Dee-dee-dee.
That's on Disney Plus.
It
Last I
is.
checked.
Yes, it
Yep.
is.
Last
Thank
I checked.
goodness. Thank goodness there's some high quality content on Disney Plus. Perry is such a fun movie. It's the music's great. The album is even better. Jimmy Dodd sings a lot of the songs from the film and some of the Mouseketeers. So Jim guessed Perry as well. So moving along, we're gonna kind of talk about the plot. And before we get into that, a couple things in the credits. Do you want to talk about some of the directors at all, Jared?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Got a couple
the director
names to
was
throw out there.
Charles Barton.
Yeah, Charles Barton.
Listening to the commentary, everybody loved Charles and the way that he dealt with them.
hmm
Like Roberta had said that she had worked with another director who just got very would get very frustrated and was very matter of fact. And she had a problem with one of the scenes in this film and had to do multiple takes. And she said that Charles was just great with her until she got it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
this was his first
Don't mind me
film.
while I'm just making noise here.
I never do. This was his first film for Disney. He had done some Zorro shows for Disney. The only
Right.
other Disney film that he did was Toby Tyler, or 10 Minutes
Oh,
with the Circus.
yeah.
He
Okay.
directed
Cool. That also
um,
had Kevin Corcoran in it.
with Kevin Corcoran. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, it was
Oh, his name's not on there. Okay.
Char- uh, it was written and produced by Bill Walsh,
Mm-hmm.
which we see right there, right? Co-producer. Bill did so many. Uh, he was a writer and a producer for a lot of Disney films, so I only picked some of my faves.
Right.
And Shaggy Dog, Absent-Minded Professor, Mary Poppins, That Darn Cat, and Bedknobs and Broomsticks. So it spanned for a while as well.
Yeah.
He wrote and produced all of those movies and more. So I
So
always get jealous.
one thing about Charles Barton, and if I'm getting into your kitchen here, just stop me. Uh,
No.
so Charles Barton was a TV sitcom director, and there's a lot of a very kind of sitcomish uh, things with this film. So I'm just going to kind of jump right in if you want. Oh, before I
Yeah,
do
for
that,
sure.
before we get done with the credits, we have to talk about the titles. The stop motion animation that's
Oh,
featured in the
yes.
titles. So there's a fun story with this. So the three gentlemen that worked on the stop motion titles are X Atencio or Xavier Atencio, Bill Justice, and T. He. These guys did some great work. They had a little bit of trouble with the opening title. They had it all done. Everything was ready to go. They filmed it, and when they played it back, it was like overexposed or something was wrong with it.
Oh,
And
no.
they broke the bad news to Walt, and they're like, "Hey, we need to like totally redo the entire title again." And instead of Walt getting like upset at him, saying, "Oh, you guys are going to push us back with the filming," and Walt didn't do that. He was, sort of a perfectionist, and he trusted his employees.
Hmm.
And he felt, well, if they need to do it again to make it right, do it again. And as he walked out, he's like, oh, by the way, make sure you guys list yourselves as a credit in the film. So it
Oh,
pays
wow.
to it pays to do the job right, even if it takes two or three times to get it done. So these
And it also
guys,
pays to
yes, to have
admit
that
right away.
integrity. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So another trivia question for the chat. So Teehee, Bill Justice, and Exitencio did a couple other stop motion title sequences. So I like to do these questions for the chat to make sure they're listening.
I
So
trust they are because I
yeah.
can't see what they're saying.
So does anybody know any? I can think of a couple right off the top of my head that these three gentlemen did stop motion title sequences for. So, well, with that brew in the chat, you guys can think about that.
I
So,
mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know the answers to those, but I'm thinking of stop motion titles in certain films, and
mhm,
they seem very reminiscent of this. So,
yep. Jim got one of them, and Dean. Hey, Dean, thanks for joining in. DB Reviews 94. We're good friends. He guessed Merlin Jones. Jim guessed Parent Trap. Those are the two that I was thinking of right off the top of my head.
me too.
And by the way, Dean does a great YouTube show with Jim Fanning, a very noted Disney historian. They do a great show called Digging the Details. I love that show. The other one that I was thinking of was a stop motion animated featurette called a symposium of popular songs. So I believe they did that. If I'm wrong, call me out. But that's about a 20-minute animated featurette that features a handful of Sherman Brothers songs, all done with stop motion
And didn't
animation.
was Paul Frees, did he do a voice in that? I could be wrong.
And he
In
probably did.
Symposium. Yeah.
he was he was a man of a thousand voices. So. I don't know, Ryan, if they did 1959 Noah's Ark. They may have. Yeah, that's another stop motion. I think that's got some stop motion in it. I haven't seen that one in a long time. So if anybody can verify that, uh, please do. It may. But anyways, let's get into the movie. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to kind of go through the plot and we're going to stop as we're introduced to some characters, and then Jared's going to kind of give us a little rundown of some of the cast. And so before I start, we wanted to pick this movie because we recently lost a couple actors in this film. So Tommy Kirk passed away late September of last year,
Hmm.
and Tim Considine passed just about a month ago. So we wanted to do a film with Annette in it, and it just felt right to choose this one with Annette alongside Tommy Kirk and Tim Considine, just to kind of honor those guys and show our appreciation in this way for all of the great work they did for the Disney company. We love them, and we're thankful that a lot of the things that they've done is still celebrated today and is easily accessible. And
Well, they're
it's
the for
just,
me, yeah, for me they're kind of the ones that started it all because, my
right.
favorite some of my favorite films are these live action 50s, 60s
Hmm.
comedies. I mean, I like the other stuff. I like the westerns and the dramas and stuff like that. But comedies from this era, I just enjoy watching them. As
Yeah.
goofy or as sentimental or whatever as they are, I just enjoy it. And this one started it all as far as comedies go. So,
Yeah, and it's no surprise that this film did so well because we already were familiar with Tim Considine and Tommy Kirk through the Hardy Boys series. We already had the Annette serial on Disney Plus, on the Mickey Mouse Club. And Miss
Moochie.
Gators noted that this was her debut, Annette's film debut, right? And we knew
I think
Kevin
that was,
Corcoran from several Mickey Mouse Club serials like Adventure in Dairyland, uh, The Spin and Marty season 2 and 3, and just a lot of other shows. And so
Moochie.
kids wanted to go and see these great TV actors on the big screen. So they were used to seeing them on the small screen, and now it's like, yay, we get to see them in a feature length film. So M. Skater says, I read they used the established actors on summer hiatus and could get them on the cheap. That kind of explains why it was like a low budget film. So yay. Walt not only created magic, he did so. He was somewhat fiscally conscious. Sometimes he would just go all out, but I think he was also interested in saving money.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. All right. So the film opens, and this is where we start feeling like this feels like a sitcom. This is Charles Barton at his best. You open up on this little town, little neighborhood, suburban street, and the first voice we hear is Paul Frees. He is narrating about, this is a small town, and it's about a shaggy dog, and there's a dog walking by, and there's Fred MacMurray, who's like coming out to get the daily paper. And he's one thing about Fred MacMurray in this is he is just so good in this. It's his first Disney film, but he was already well known for like several other films prior. Mostly he was doing westerns prior to this, but
Hmm.
quite a few great film noir Like I always turn to the film he did with oh my gosh, I'm blanking on it. What is the name? It's like he's an insurance salesman and she wants to off her husband and get together
It's
with
a
him.
double indemnity. A
Double
double
indemnity. Thank
indemnity.
you.
Yes.
And I can't believe I'm forgetting the lady who acted alongside him. Ugh, what is wrong with my brain today? Oh, she's like one of my favorite actresses. Obviously, not my absolute favorite because I can't remember her name. She was in
Let's.
Christmas in Connecticut and
It's Barbara
Barbara
Stanwyck.
Stanwyck. Thanks, Elmer. Good grief. I need to make sure I take my memory pills in the morning. I didn't take one today.
I will say, you and most of the people in this chat are better than me when it comes to the names and stuff like that. So
Oh,
you don't have to apologize.
okay. Well, I won't. I just have a horrible time with names. It's something I try to work on. So I am really having trouble with my props. So here we go. You can kind of, I think I'm just going to hold my phone. Sorry guys if it's shaky. So, all right. So back to the movie. Fred MacMurray, he's allergic to dogs. I think he's like a retired postman of 20 years. So he did his 20 years civil service. But that's what makes this film so funny. He's just the perfect Disney dad, allergic to dogs, and he's like, "Get away, get out of here, dog!" the whole time, and he like starts itching and scratching himself because he's allergic.
Oh, they
So
made him a postman because,
yeah, right. He could have been like an insurance salesman or a bank worker, but no, they picked the job that a stereotypical employee that hates dogs is perfect. That's Bill Walsh right there. So, uh, cut to the first scene. This is just classic sitcom stuff. He's eating breakfast with his wife. He approaches the table. They kind of do this like little 1 foot distant kiss, him and Gene Hagen, which is like, okay, that's totally 1950s. And the music in this whole opening scene, it's just like Leave It to Beaver. So do you want to talk about Gene Hagen, Fred MacMurray a little bit?
Sure, I can go like you said earlier, Fred. This was Fred's first film for Disney, um, and he made some of my favorite Disney movies. He only did seven, and I
Only.
enjoyed well, and I enjoyed all of them except for maybe
Yeah.
one.
Don't
But
say Charlie and the Angel.
I okay, I won't. But he started off with a bang with Shaggy Dog, Absent Minded Professor, and then Son of Flubber, and Bon Voyage maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then my favorite out of all of his would be The Happiest Millionaire, and
Hmm.
I'm happy that that one is on Disney
Yeah.
Plus. And then also Follow Me
It's a
Boys.
tie for me. Happiest Millionaire and Follow Me Boys. So.
So he was in 3 or 4 films with Tommy Kirk,
Hmm.
and 2 of them with Kevin Corcoran. Then on television, he was in My Three Sons, which I've never seen that show, but looking at the cast and everything, a lot of people
Yeah.
have been on My Three Sons
Hmm.
because he was on that alongside Tim Considine. And then Gene Hagen. She only did one film that I could find for Disney, and that was Shaggy Dog. But she was in a pretty well-known feature called "Singing in the Rain."
Yeah. M. Skaters knows what's up. She did a Lena Lamont shout out, the the actress that was all into talkies but couldn't perform on the big screen. So was it Debbie Reynolds that did the
Chevy, yeah.
she sang back behind the curtain for her. Great movie. Great movie.
I'd like to rewatch that one again soon.
Yeah. M. Skaters also said, I think Tommy Kirk in the commentary said Fred tanked up there or with Cary Grant. Yeah, I heard that. Cary Grant, Gary Cooper, he was like at that level. Hmm.
I think, and something else that I read was, I think, was it Gregory Peck was second choice for Shaggy Dog, and
Oh, okay.
Fred MacMurray got it. And then,
Hmm.
listening to the commentary, they had absolutely nothing bad and only sang
Yeah,
praises
they
of
gushed
both
over
Fred
him.
and Gene. Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
good to hear because he's great.
All right, so they're eating breakfast, and he's talking about how how much he hates dogs. He's tired of reading about dogs in the papers, dogs getting medals, and dogs this and dogs that. So, but we're first introduced to we're first introduced to Tommy Kirk and Kevin Corcoran. They're down in the basement tinkering with this rocket, and it's hilarious. He's like, it accidentally switches on, and Kevin and Moochie's like, "Hey, turn that off." He's like, "I can't. I didn't even turn it on." And so there's just this hilarious scene where this rocket launches itself up through the basement floor, the through the roof of the house, and there's chaos up above. Everything's shaking in the dining area there, and they're running out of the house, and Gene Hagen's like, "Hey, save something," and he like grabs like the coffee pot out of like all their valuables that are like, "I'll save this coffee pot,"
I was
and they're
laughing out loud at this scene because,
yeah,
everything in that house was shaking, and but you could tell that they were all attached to something and they were just wiggling around for film. But
hmm
both both Gene and Fred were, I don't think they were shaking along with the stuff. So they seemed pretty grounded while everything around them. It just made me laugh.
yeah. I love the composure that well his and Fred, but in the film it's Wilson Daniels that he has, while like obviously he's really mad at Wilby for blowing a hole through his roof. I don't know very many dads that would have that composure, but that's just I don't know. That's part of Wilson's character, but also I don't think Fred MacMurray could just do that, just blow up. So what does he do? He grabs one of the coffee cups that his wife took out and filled it up with coffee from his pot that he saved, and had a leisurely cup of Joe on the lawn, and then cut to the next scene where Wilby and Moochie are up on the roof fixing everything, and Fred's like, "All right, you got to stop with all this rocket business and all these other hobbies. I want all that stuff out of there." And you know, by the way, don't wreck my flowers while you're up here fixing the roof. And then along comes Buzz and Allison. We get to meet them. Oh, I didn't even. Yeah, did we? You want to share anything about Tommy Kirk and Kevin Corcoran?
I'm going to put in my own opinions in
Yeah.
here. Tommy Kirk and and Kevin Corcoran are tied for me as far as my favorite of the Disney actors from this whole era.
Hmm.
Kevin Corcoran is so phenomenal in anything that he does because he doesn't seem like he's acting at all. He seems,
Yeah.
and
So
he's so
natural.
young. He's so young. But anyway, and then, Tommy played his older brother in several movies. They played together. So it just, they mentioned it in the commentary as well. I don't remember who said it, but they were like, a lot of people are surprised when they find out that they're not actually brothers in real life because they had such great chemistry. But
Hmm.
Tommy Kirk, he did a whole bunch of them. I could list them off, but I'm not gonna. But starting with Old Yeller, which going from Old Yeller to Shaggy Dog, which was his next film, is pretty unreal because they both were in that one. Kevin Corcoran
Yeah.
as well, both in Old Yeller. But Tommy Kirk does that scene where he's crying at the end, and then to go to this one where he's turning into a dog.
Hmm.
It's quite a range. And then in the later half of Tommy's career with Disney, he did a lot of stuff with Annette. Uh-oh. Did I, can you hear me?
Nope, I'm back. I think am I here?
Yeah. For you.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, Later on in his career, he did a lot of stuff with Annette, uh, with the Misadventures of Merlin Jones, Monkey's Uncle. But in the middle, and Escapade in Florence, which I love. By the way, if you have never seen Escapade in Florence, check it out.
Yeah, good movie.
Um, and then Kevin Corcoran. Oh, and then in TV, he was in the Hardy Boys along with Tim Considine. Tommy
Yeah.
Kirk was.
Yeah,
Kevin Corcoran. They know. I'm sorry. Say what you're going to say.
Oh, they did a couple series of Hardy Boys. That's all. Yeah.
Yeah. Kevin Corcoran also did Toby Tyler, with the director as well, the year after. But my favorite, and I'm 99% sure that your favorite as well, is Pollyanna. That Kevin Corcoran was in.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I hear Kevin Corcoran's name, the first film I think of is Pollyanna.
Okay.
I just think of him as Jimmy Bean. That's who he is, Jimmy Bean. And then my personal, a title that I think everybody should seek out and watch if you haven't is Johnny Shiloh, because I think that is really phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And then one interesting thing that I found interesting, Kevin's last film that he did for Disney was The Boatniks in 1970.
He was in that?
He was uncredited, but he was in
it,
yes.
I'm going to have to watch that again.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of love for Escapade in Florence in the chat. That's great. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm just glad everybody's seen it. It's so good.
Yeah.
And then he also did a lot of TV show too. Moochie, of course, the Moochie series with the Little League and Pop Warner.
Pop Warner. Yep.
Yeah. And My Three Sons for an episode.
All right, so let's move along. So at this point, they're up on the roof fixing it, and Allison and Buzz drive by in Buzz's little roadster, and it's like Tommy's like, "Hi, Allison," and he falls right off into the flowers, and Moochie's like, "You just did what Dad told you not to do," and of course, Tommy brushes himself off. He's got a thing for Allison. Who doesn't, right? That's Annette Funicello, and Buzz, of course, is Tim Considine. If you don't mind, I'll chime in with these guys a little bit here.
Totally.
Tim Considine, of course, great actor. Spin and Marty series, Hardy Boys. He did that with Tommy Kirk and Annette. I mean, this was her first feature film. She was of course, on the Mickey Mouse Club and just got done doing the Annette serial, which I think Ryan mentioned back a few minutes ago is one of the greatest Mickey Mouse Club serials, probably the greatest serial. Elmer chimed in on Kevin Corcoran. He did produce. Yeah, he is listed as a producer on a lot of films in the 70s, so did a lot after he got done acting. So Buzz and Allison pull up, and Buzz is out taking Allison on a date, and Tommy's like, "Hey, you owe me $7," and Buzz is like, "Oh, I'll get it to you when I can." Blah blah blah. And while they're talking, this lovely young lady driving a convertible Mercedes and a moving van approach, and all of a sudden, and I don't know how this happens, but their attention turns away from Annette, mistake number one, to Francesca, who's played by Roberta Shore. And tell us a little bit about Roberta Shore.
I don't think it's necessarily mistake number one. I mean, Roberta
I don't
Shore,
know. I just she's attractive.
I love Annette. I love Annette more.
Yeah.
But
I think they were enamored by her sophistication and
her side ponytail.
Yes. And yep.
Roberta Shore, she had done a lot of television, She was in the oh my gosh, she did 18 episodes of the Mickey Mouse Club. So she
Hmm.
was, and she was in with Annette as well
Right.
on the Annette serial. And then later on, she was a regular on The Virginian, which a lot of these other,
Yeah.
actors later on had done parts in as
I
well.
think Tim Considine was in that too.
Yeah, possibly. And I think maybe one of the police officers. But the only feature film she did for Disney was The Shaggy Dog, which that
Hmm.
surprised me a little bit, um,
Yeah.
that they didn't use her more.
Hmm. Well, I'm glad that they did the album with her on it.
Yeah.
So that's very cool that she got to do that.
The children, this is kind of morbid, but she is still the only one, the only living one right now out of these four or
Hmm.
five children.
Yeah, she's still alive. I don't think she's acting anymore, but she's uh, still around. Thank goodness.
Uh,
So they kind of like uh, just totally blow off Annette, and Annette notices this, and she's like, boy, this really stinks. She runs into the house. She doesn't say that. She just it's like, I guess my tennis date is off. So she goes into the house, but Wilby and Buzz, they approach the house because the dog runs out and like pretty much is like infatuated with with Wilby right away. Like just jumps on him, starts hugging, licking him, and everything. He's like instant pals. So a little foreshadowing there. And he's like, "Oh, I need to take this dog back to Francesca." And Buzz is like, "Well, yeah, let me show you how it's supposed to be done." Like, because he's the ladies' man of the two. So they approach the house, and they notice that like she's speaking French to the dog, and they it's a really awkward scene where they're like, "Me, you, dog, I, this for you." And then her dad comes out and says, like, "Oh, who's your friends?" "Oh, these are the boys from across the street." It's like, "Oh, she speaks English." Well, okay. So the dog is as a well in the film he's referred to as a Bratislavian sheepdog who takes to Wilby right away. The name Francesca uses is chiffon, and so they're all invited inside, and so they're kind of getting to know each other, and they notice like all the fancy things in her house. Her father came to town. Her father is Mikhail Andrusy. So Mikhail, remember that name? Sounds Russian, doesn't it?
their house was so much more classier than the Leave It to Beaver
Yeah,
house that Wilby lived in.
right. So yeah, and so uh, the boys are kind of taken to this picture of this lady with the dog. It's like because the dog matches the chiffon, and she's like, "Oh, you remember the Borgias, of course." And so they get a whole lesson on was it Lucrezia Borgia? I can't remember the first name, but
I don't either.
how they were like all a sorcery type family, and they could shapeshift and all these crazy things. And so uh, the dad comes by and says, "Hey, can you take this over to the museum?" And so it turns out to be like a little date. So they all run off to the museum. And while they're there, they get more lessons in the Borgias as Buzz and Francesca kind of wander off and tour the museum. And Wilby is separated, and he runs into a professor there, Professor Plumcott. And did you write anything down about Professor Plumcott at all?
His name is Cecil Kellaway, or
Yeah,
Cecil? Cecil?
Cecil Kellaway.
Um, he only did a few things with Disney, The Shaggy Dog and Adventures of Bullwhip Griffin in '67, and then
Oh, he was in that. Okay.
he was, yeah,
Wow.
and then The Wacky Zoo of Morgan City
Uh-huh. That's
in
like
1970.
1970.
Yeah,
That has Michael McGreevy and Joe Flynn, I think, is in that too.
yeah.
Yeah, good show. So Wilby gets a crash course in the Borgias, learns about, he kind of summarizes the book, The Hound of Florence, where it talks about a boy who turns into a dog, and it's all interesting, and Wilby's sort of mildly interested, not so much. He's more interested in trying to get back with Francesca because, he's kind of smitten by her. But on the way out, he accidentally knocks over this table of Borgia jewelry, and a ring pops into like his pants cuff accidentally.
Well, because he had his jeans rolled.
Yeah, that classic 1950s style, right, where you roll the the bottom of your pants into like a cuff.
Hmm.
So, for some unexplained reason, only known to Buzz, he drives off with Francesca and leaves Wilby at the museum. Yeah, that is a scary museum. You're right. There's like little animatronics moving around, and it's just like creepy. So scary. It's kind of, this movie is a little dark, a little bit of sorcery, some black magic, and then we'll talk a little bit about Russian spies and the ties to the Cold War and the space race later.
I'm glad Walt picked such a.
Yeah, well, it was very prevalent at that time. This was the late 50s. Americans were very concerned about Russian spies and having secrets stolen. So this movie kind of pokes fun at all that. I mean, in all seriousness, though, it was not I mean, there was some legitimate fears amongst the public, but maybe Walt was just kind of poking fun, or Bill Walsh. That I think people will take it too seriously. Who knows? But anyways, we're back at Wilby's house, and he's kind of cleaning out all that stuff his dad told him to get rid of, and he like finds this ring in his pants cuff, and he's like, "Oh, there's an inscription. I might as well just read it." So he's like, "In canis corpore transmuto," and he starts singing a little song like "In canis corpore transmuto," and a do si do and a loo do. And you get this little screen kind of funky fade, where the screen kind of does this little wavy fade out. And then the next time we see him, he's got hair growing out of his head. Not his own, like Shaggy Dog hair. He's turning into a dog.
Well, because do you know that in canis corpore transmuto translates from Latin to into dog body transforms?
I do now. I was wondering. Yeah, I kind of got transmuto was kind of like transform. Canis I knew was dog. I didn't know what corpore or what that's body.
At least that's what they said, or at least that's what I read. I don't know Latin, so please correct me, anybody.
Yeah, I think you're right. It doesn't mean please make me a Chihuahua. Please don't make me a Chihuahua. Please make me a Bratislavian sheepdog. That would be great.
I do think this was the scene where, or right around this time, where in the commentary, Tommy Kirk was like, said that he was embarrassed
Yeah. Yeah,
of
you can
this.
kind of tell. And it's a little shaky acting, like when he's like, oh no, no, what is going on with my face? And the really awkward mirror shot where he's not looking directly into the mirror, but you're
Camera.
seeing his face. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like he's not looking straight on at the mirror, but yet the reflection in the mirror is facing you, the viewer. It's weird. So yeah, and then all of a sudden he's like totally a dog, and he starts freaking out because his dad's allergic to dogs, and his dad calls down, Wilby, come on up. And he's like, okay, Pop. And M. Skater's just like, are you catching a cold? Your mother told you to wear a sweater down the basement. And, he's like, okay, I got to get out of here without my dad seeing me. So what does he do? I mean, he runs back to the museum because he wants to like get the lowdown from Professor Plumcott. Like, why is he a dog? So he goes back there, and it's like Plumcott is like, oh, hey, you're a dog. That's great. It's all true. All the sorcery and the magic and stuff. And he's like, well, how do I change back? He's like, Well, you can be like the guy in the story who did a heroic act and got stabbed by a dagger through his heart, and that changed him back to a boy, but he died. And he's like, well, I don't want to die. I want to be alive. How does this work? He's like, well, I don't know, but chin up, be happy, get out of here. I want to finish my exhibit. So that's the last we see of Professor Plumcott. And so Wilby's like, sheesh, what do I do? So then we start getting into the yes, this is the original day one list. Yeah. We're talking about the 59 classic. Um, so he's walking back, kind of like, oh, I'm a dog, great. And he runs into Officer Hanson. So for the first time, we meet Officer Hanson, Officer Kelly, and he kind of gets in Officer Hanson's way. He's like, oh, excuse me, sorry. He's coming out with a couple of cups of coffee, and they have a little exchange. And Hanson's like, did I just talk to a dog? And right away, you like are in love with this character, Officer Hanson, played by James Westerfield, who just the audience took to his character right away. Like when the reviews came in for the film, he was like one of the surprise hits. And Walt decided, yeah, go ahead.
No, what you were gonna say?
No, I think I was getting into your kitchen there because you'll probably talk about James Westfield a little bit. So give us the lowdown on him, Officer
It
Hanson.
surprised me, the fact that he was so popular that then they brought those characters, Officer Hanson and Kelly, into The Absent-Minded Professor,
Mm-hmm.
as well as
Yeah,
the sequel, Son of Flubber.
right. Yeah, they get into a little bit more craziness in those two movies, although there is the chase scene, which I hope we'll get to tonight. So, yeah, but just everybody loved Officer Hanson, just so hilarious. Did I lose you, Jared? You there?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you
My,
still.
I'm gonna try to. Sorry, my headphones are dying, so I'm gonna try to just do the speaker on my phone. This is behind the curtain stuff, everybody.
Okay.
Hold
All
on.
right. So Jared's going to try to fix his audio issue here, and I'll just continue on with the story. And all my notes are like handwritten, and I'm having the hardest time. So, all right. So Wilby's headed back to the house, and here's one of the great scenes of the film. He sneaks in, and it's bedtime, and he's got to the dog. He's a dog. He gets into his bedroom. The dog opens the drawer, grabs the PJs, heads into the bathroom, does a little gargling, brushes his teeth, flushes the toilet, and gets dressed. And it's like, there's really neat scenes here where it's like the dog is doing it, but also there's the dog suit. And so when he's getting dressed, it's the dog suit. When he's brushing his teeth, it's the dog suit. When he's gargling and walking out of the bathroom, that's all dog. When he takes the PJs out of the dresser, that's all dog. So one interesting thing, Tim Considine's brother was the little guy in the dog suit. Did you know that? He mentioned that in the
Yeah.
commentary.
Wait, can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Yep. Can hear you
Okay.
great. Hmm.
Yeah, I was laughing so hard at this, especially with him pulling his pants on.
Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff. It always gets me. And, they did the best that they could with
Yeah.
the effects of that scene, but I love it. I also, I don't know about anyone else, but I just, like when somebody, it's terrible, when somebody in a movie falls off a roof or falls out of a window or whatever, and you can clearly tell that it's a stuffed dummy, I
Hmm.
am in tears laughing every time. So this scene I enjoyed so much. I bet they just had so much fun creating it.
Yeah, it's one of the best scenes in the film. The whole time, Moochie's like in bed and he's kind of half awake. Like, what's going on? And Moochie kind of, the next morning, he's like, hey, I dreamt you were a dog. and he's like trying to wake up Wilby. You are a dog. So I think we're gonna have to try to rush through the rest of this plot here because it's already been an hour and 10 minutes. But thanks everybody for hanging in with us. Uh, but yeah, where was I? Oh yeah, so the next scene is the morning, and Dad being allergic to the dog. He's trying to prevent his dad from discovering Wilby. And there's another breakfast scene, another missed kiss. And it's breakfast time, so Wilby's hungry. So he makes his way into the bathroom or the kitchen to eat a little bit, and then that's when Mom discovers him and tries to hide him from Dad, but Dad kind of sees him through the breakfast, that classic 50s swinging door, where the mom goes in and out of bringing food to Dad, like toast and eggs and stuff. And there's just a funny scene where he's like, "Is there a dog in the kitchen?" And he's like, "Did you and Moochie gang up on me and buy a dog?" And she's just like, "Eat your eggs." So
In his neck.
yeah. Anyways, he does notice Wilby through the swinging door, and he grabs his gun and tries to shoot his own son. Of course. But he runs to Francesca's and goes to get some food there. And Francesca's kind of like, "How did you get out?" Because what happens when Wilby turns into a dog, Francesca's dog, Chiffon, like disappears. And there's some neat camera tricks too there where he's on the couch, and then when he goes away, the indentation of the couch kind of comes up. It's like like he just got up and left, but he actually disappears, and it's weird because Wilby is not gone, right? I mean, Wilby and the dog join together. I don't know about the physics or the biology of all this. It just happens. It's black magic.
Yes.
So while Francesca's feeding Wilby, someone knocks at the door, and it's Mr. Thurm, and we don't know much about him, but the music tells us that he's kind of like not a very good guy.
Mm-hmm.
So Francesca is like really worried that Chiffon is like escaping, and asks Stefan to like take care of it. So Stefano, the butler, locks him in the basement, and Wilby escapes that. That's some really neat, more dog trickery there. By he's down there trying to get out, but he changes back to his regular self and like removes the door and escapes. And so they're back at the dinner table again, all normal. Wilby's a boy again, and they talk about this country club dance that's coming up, and Frida, who's the mom, suggests to Wilby that he take Allison to the dance, or maybe Francesca down the street. And while they're discussing this, Buzz stops by and says, "Hey, there's this dance coming on." It's like, "Hey, knothead, I mean, buddy." Like Tim Considine's character is like really rude, to Tommy Kirk's character. But
Yeah,
there's a picture of the car, by the way.
Tim said in the commentary, he's like, "I always played the nice guy, and then in this one, I wasn't necessarily a villain, but I wasn't necessarily the nicest."
Yeah, I know, crazy. Well, he was just trying to take advantage of Tommy Kirk's niceness here, because he accidentally asked both Allison and Francesca to the dance, and so he convinces Tommy to come with him, and they'll play a little trick on the girls, and he wants to be on a date with both girls. It's a classic situation comedy scenario. So this dance is just like crazy because the boys show up in this car here, and they pick up their dates and go to the dance, and it's like I have a hard time really understanding what's going on because it's like I think both girls are kind of like smitten with Wilby a little bit, because Allison's like, "Hey, there's something unusual about you lately, she's very interested in Wilby. So she wants to dance with him. And then Francesca's like, maybe I should dance with Wilby and make Allison jealous. So there's this whole back and forth of them dancing around. And then um, Buzz is trying to like, he's like kind of bewildered. He's like, wait, this is my date with both of you. And, what's going on? You guys like Wilby better than me? So he's getting frustrated. So then there's this like dance called the Paul Revere. And I
Hmm.
have no idea what that is. Paul Revere. Does anybody know anything about what a Paul Revere dance is?
I have no
I,
idea.
and they didn't even know in the commentary.
I love how Fred, because the parents are all sitting up on a couch, uh, chaperoning, and then Fred MacMurray says to his wife,
Yeah,
"I'm so glad that girls are actually interested in Wilby."
I know.
Basically,
Like, wow, girls like Wilby. I thought he was like the great American wallflower or something.
yeah, I loved that.
Yeah. This is a great scene for Wilby. He's like, man, he's getting attention from both girls that, obviously he likes. And this dance is like there's the tap dance and there's the Paul Revere, and he's just like in La La Land.
Hmm.
Did you just yell the British are coming? Yeah, I know. What is the Paul Revere? I mean, I looked up Revere. It's like, I think it's a waltz because that's the first part of the dance. It's a waltz. And
Hmm.
then it kind of turns into a square dance. So that's where the craziness happens. Like, Moochie's eating cake with his parents, and all of a sudden, he starts turning into the dog. And it must be like really dark in this dance, in this country club, because he's dancing for like, I know, Andy Snotty's like, why can only Moochie see him turn into a dog? Couldn't the girls feel his hands? I know. Like, how can Moochie see, but like this room full of people cannot tell that he's turned into a dog? Well, there's that great shot of Moochie and his face, right?
Hmm.
He's like, oh, and then that super zoom, like right in onto Wilby, turn into a dog. So Wilby's like he's like super Twitter pated here, and Moochie grabs him and tackles him, and he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "You need to look at yourself." He's like, "Oh no, not now, not a dog, no." It's like the worst possible time. Poor guy. So, oh, Deep Prawl 325. You have a dog like that, huh? A dog named Tamara. That's like the Shaggy Dog. That's cool. So, there's a little bit of a scene because Francesca notices, like, oh, Chiffon is back. He's like, why did he get here? He escaped again. And so there's kind of like a little, not a full out crazy scene. There's a couple screams and stuff, but Wilby does manage to get away. Buzz tries to like catch him, but he's unsuccessful. And so, obviously he's mad at Buzz, and he kind of makes up this little plan here where he calls from a public phone, asks his parents if he could spend the night at Buzz's, and he runs into Officer Hanson again.
Where all of his clothes are gone and he has no pockets, but he has a dime to call from a payphone.
The plausible impossible, I guess. How does he pick up a dime and put it in the payphone slot?
That's the kind of stuff I love. I
Yeah,
about it and it makes me laugh, and I just love
yeah,
it.
right. Exactly. That's great. So Officer Hanson sees, and there's another exchange, oh, I'm talking to a dog, I'm going crazy. It's kind of a running gag throughout the film. So he goes back to Francesca's instead of Buzz's, and Buzz is there to drop off Francesca, and he's kind of disrupting Buzz. He's trying to make the moves on Francesca, and he's like really mad. So there's like a big fight, and Buzz kind of throws him to the ground, right? And that upsets Francesca, and he like kicks Buzz out of the house. And then there's a scene with her father, and Francesca's like, "Hey, can you watch the phone? Because I'm like, I don't know how he keeps getting out. It's crazy." but please watch him for me. And she goes to bed, I guess. But here's where things start getting crazy. This is where um, Therm shows up again. So Therm and Mikhail are in the study. They're talking about this thing, and then Tommy's there as the dog, Wilby, and he overhears this conversation. It's like Mikhail's like, "Oh, you found the complete mechanism for the undersea hydrogen missile?" I'm like, what is going on? This movie just got really dark. We're talking about, and Wilby's like, "Oh, they're spies." So here's where we get like that Cold War tie-in, spies, missile smuggling. So that's the plot, right? That's what's going on. That's where we really get kind of some meat to the film. It's not just a comedy, but really Wilby's a dog to kind of break up this whole Russian spy missile smuggling thing that somehow Francesca's father and some of his spy buddies, including their butler, who we didn't talk about, but what was his name? Jacques Abuchan. So, yeah. I don't know if you did any research on him.
I didn't know.
Okay. Great actor.
There were
We'll
a
leave
lot
it at that.
of film.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a lot. Like even Mikhail Andresi, his character was what did they say about him? He was a famous like voice actor, radio personality.
Yeah, yeah. He
Mhm.
sorry.
I think I lost you there.
Okay, can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you.
You can't?
Oh, now I can. You're back.
Okay, great.
And I can see your stuff the whole time. So.
Okay. I'll let you keep going. Sorry.
Okay. Well, anyways, yeah, we won't get into the casting. We'll try to wrap this up, but we're having too much fun laughing. So that's what we do. This is such a cornball movie, and it totally takes a 180 here where, Wilby discovers this plot. So he ends up escaping through a laundry chute from the basement because that's like he doesn't get at this first time he's like in the study with Mikhail and Therm, he doesn't get caught, right? He finds out they're spies and he like sneaks away through like a laundry chute and then out of the basement. And a lot more crazy dog tricks, with the ladder down there. I think that's
The
you
dog
know,
was phenomenal.
yeah, Sam was awesome. And the gentleman that trained him was just as good. So great
Yeah.
stuff. Like he builds a little tower to get up to the window, and so he's out, and he's like, here's where it starts getting really, really crazy. So Wilby's out. He's a dog. He tells Moochie about the spies and Section 32 and all this plans to smuggle the missile plans out of the country. And so Moochie's like, okay, we got to tell Dad. So he goes in and talks to his dad. He's like, hey, there's this plan, Section 32 missiles, and he doesn't believe it. He thinks Moochie's like just another one of his tall tales. He's just a little guy. And so he goes back out to Wilby and is like, Dad's not buying it. What do we do? And so Wilby's like, well, I guess it's time for me to reveal myself as a dog to my dad.
Which, why didn't this happen at the beginning?
I don't know.
But those are the things I think about.
Yeah. Well, this is a great scene where dog suit Wilby is just like, hey, Dad, I'm a dog, and what if I have a secret to tell you? Are you ready? Can I tell you anything? He's like, yeah, Wilby, you can tell me anything. He's like, I'm a dog, and then he just does this classic feint. Yeah, yeah, and he's not a classic him sitting next to Fred. It's just, it's so good, and he just does this little like, oh.
That's literally the sound he makes too. He's like, oh. And
it wasn't in the script? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, yeah. I mean, Fred MacMurray just, he's kind of like in the background of this film,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like he's in the background, but also the foreground at the same time. Because once you start forgetting about him in the movie, he just does these things that just Fred MacMurray isms or actions that are just classic him. That just like it just endears you to his character, and it just Walt really caught on to this, and you know he did 6 more films,
Yeah.
and was became the very first Disney legend, and it's all well deserved. Just even in the commentary, every scene with Fred MacMurray, like Tim, Tommy, Kevin, Roberta were all we love him. It's just like he is so good, and that little feint is just so good. It's so after that. Um, so Wilby and Moochie are kind of like outside now. They're like, okay, well, let's tell the police. So they find Hanson, and there's another hilarious exchange between Hanson and Wilby where he's like, a dog is talking to me. Well, I'm not a dog. I'm a boy in a dog suit. It's like, oh yeah, I guess that could happen. They don't believe the story anyways, and so at this time, Stefano, the butler, comes by, and he catches Wilby and grabs him and takes him away. So now Moochie's like, all right, well, they got my brother, and we need to figure out how to, stop this plan because this is going down, right? The whole missile thing. The Russians are going to get the missile, and they're going to blow up the United States. So we need to fix this. So Moochie convinces his like sort of semi-delirious dad to go. I guess it's like the FBI or some. I'll just call it the FBI. They don't really say it's the FBI, but some sort of investigation agency
Yeah, it's
in
not.
this. Yeah, in this small town.
Right.
So they try to explain that Wilby overhears spies talking because he was a dog. So the agents are like, "What? This is like the craziest tall tale." And so um, Fred MacMurray mentions Section 32, and that kind of like, oh, that opens their eyes. Like that's something that they know about. Why does Fred MacMurray know about this? Well, he must be in on it, or he's crazy, or both, or something. So meanwhile, Wilby he's back at Francesca's because like he's just there because the butler got him. So he's back there and he's kind of like trying to see if he can learn some more. So he is back in that study and listening to the plans and the schemes, and he turns back to a boy while he hears like some of this key information about how they're going to get the plans and the missile stuff out of the country. So he's kind of like, oh, I'm a boy again. I got to escape. And so he's almost out of the room, but he gets caught by Andrassy and Therm. And so they tie him up. And back at the station, now we get this cool little scene where Paul Frees, who plays a kind of like a psychiatric evaluator kind of guy.
Yeah, an actual psychiatrist is what he was credited as.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so it's really neat to see the face behind the voice here, even though, let's see, 1959, he hadn't quite done a lot of things for the Disney parks at this point, like Adventures Through Inner Space or The Haunted Mansion.
I mean, yeah.
His biggest credits, but he did quite a few things. Did you write any down? I didn't do
Yeah.
a lot of Paul Frees research, but
As far as like, because he did a lot of voiceover work, and a lot of the stuff he did for
mhm.
Disney was even voice, but he did also, like he did a voice in Pollyanna as the Barker. He did a voice in Goliath 2, Absent-Minded Professor, 101 Dalmatians, Mary Poppins. But
Mhm.
he showed his face in The Ugly Dachshund. He was Eddie the Garbage Man.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. That's cool.
And there are a couple things non-Disney. I found this interesting. A couple things non-Disney that he did voices. He did a voice in this animated film called The Snow Queen in 1957, which also had Tommy Kirk. So there was a tie-in there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then he also did a voice in Patton in 1970 and Tim Considine.
Oh, the George C. Scott movie? Yeah.
So there was a tie-in with Tim Considine as well.
Yeah, Tim Considine was in that too. That's cool. See, Ryan asked if either of us got to experience adventure through inner space. And yes, I did. Quite a
No,
few times, actually. It closed in 1985. And my first trip to Disneyland was 83. And we went once or twice a year. So I got to ride Adventure Through Inner Space several times. So I remember it well. It was just a great attraction. And I won't get into it anymore here because our next episode of Dateline Jiminy Crickets, the podcast that I'm on, we're going to talk about Adventure Through Inner Space. So uh, we will. I'll save that for that episode. Ludwig von Drake. Yes, that was a Paul Frees voice.
that's where
He
he
did.
did a lot of.
Yeah, yeah. That's probably where he's best known and up to this point. Well, no, because Ludwig von Drake came along later. That's right. He was the Wonderful World of Color
Yeah,
guy. So, yeah.
he's all over the place.
And he was all over this movie. So, given Fred MacMurray a psych eval, and this is where Moochie, Moochie's chilling with his dad, and he's like, he in the back of his mind, he's thinking, I need to get out of here because I need to help Wilby. I don't know where Wilby is. Last he saw of Wilby was he was caught by Stefano, and he's back at Francesca's house. So he starts denying everything that he told his dad, and then it's just like, are you kidding me? My brother can't be a dog. And Fred MacMurray's like, Moochie,
My dad's a really good storyteller.
Moochie. So now, like, Fred MacMurray's in big time hot water. The boy is excused, so he leaves. And let's see, that was all just his ploy to get out of there. So, meanwhile, there's a lot of scene cutting here from the FBI office back to the Francesca's house. So, back at Francesca's house, this is where things get crazy. This is just like poor Francesca. She's like mixed up in this plot. She has no idea, but she comes into the room and Andrassi's like, you need to pack right now. We're leaving. And she's like, no, I got a date with Buzz,
I think
which is like,
hey,
yeah, why do you got a date with Buzz who just kicked out of your house? Like, I guess they made up. So I don't know. She fixed his cut that he had above his eye, and but anyways, so Andrassi, it's just like so like sad because I love Roberta Shore's character and she's just so sweet and like innocent here. And Andrew or Mikhail, I can't pronounce his last name. He threatens her and forces her to travel to the dock. So like the next scene cuts and they're like throwing suitcases in the back of this car and they're traveling down to the boat where they're going to smuggle these missile plans and stuff. One interesting thing about this whole dock scene, this was all filmed at the Universal backlot.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was mentioned at the. Yeah, if you guys have a chance to watch the commentary, please do it because there's a lot of little nuggets in that. It's one of the better commentaries I've listened to. So, all right, so they're on their way down to the boat dock, and Moochie gets there, and Wilby's tied up, so he unties Wilby. He's a dog still, and as they're running out of the house, Buzz shows up to pick up Francesca for the date, and they kind of get into a little skirmish, and then what do you know? Here kicks off the best scene in the movie right here, is where Wilby steals Buzz's little roadster and he takes off. This is just a great scene. I love this scene. It's just so wacky.
Will be a dog.
Yep. So he gets behind the wheel and he speeds off, past Officer Hanson, and then Buzz and Moochie catch up to the officer, and he's like, "That Shaggy Dog just stole my car," and they're like, "Follow that dog!" And this crazy car chase. Thanks, Elmer.
Come back, you mean?
Yeah. And so Wilby's playing chicken with a couple of motorcycles during this hot pursuit, and then Hanson's classic scene. He's like, they're in pursuit in their squad car, and he's calling for backup, and he's like, "Description of suspect: large, shaggy dog, color dirty white, brown patches." Everybody back at the station is hearing this. A couple other cops, Mercer and his pal are hearing this over the speaker. They're like, "Well, he's lost it." And some great comments here. Mem skaters. The whole neighborhood in the movie was filmed at the famous cul-de-sac on the Universal lot. Some of it and some of it was done at the Disney Studio lot. And then Wilby makes that turn signal with his paw. I know, he's like, yeah, if you're in a car chase, the first thing you want to make sure you do is use your turn signals.
But little things like that just make it so good. Like the shot where Wilby talks to his dad as the dog, and Fred MacMurray sitting there reading the newspaper, and then he's like, "Can you shake on it?"
Yeah.
Things like that just bring it so much charm. And so you kind of expect Wilby to hit the turn signal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. I'm totally with you. All these things just make this so much fun. So during the car chase, there's this great scene, right, where the officer Hanson, they catch up to Wilby, and they pull him over, and the Hanson starts frisking Wilby. Just such a funny scene. I love it. But Wilby manages to get away and bites Hanson on the hand, and ends up stealing their squad car. So now they're taking off. Beforehand, they had Mercer and his buddy to help join them in the pursuit. So now they're in Buzz's roadster, and behind them is Fred, Buzz, and Moochie, all hot in pursuit, all chasing after Andrassy and Francesca and the dirty spies, and they all converge on this dock area. And so Andrassy and company, they jump on the boat. Wilby arrives, and he leaps onto the boat, and there's just like really, I mean, this dog is amazing. Like that whole scene on the boat where he's like fighting with Andrassy and Stefano.
Oh yeah.
And then that is just so. This dog deserves like an Oscar for this movie. It's just so well done.
The same dog trainer apparently also did the dogs in Swiss Family Robinson.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, they mentioned that in the commentary too. So during this whole scuffle, Francesca's like knocked into the water, and so Wilby jumps in after her, and they kind of swim for shore. That's an interesting little thing there, a little tidbit where actually they wired Roberta Shore to the dog so that they could like swim together, or like so that the dog can kind of drag her to the shore.
Mm-hmm.
And that may have been her double. Because she did say that wasn't her that jumped into the water in the commentary. But anyways, Buzz, Moochie, and Wilson all arrive, and the FBI is like, "Hey, there's Wilson, let's get him." But they soon discover that it's really the bad guys are on the boat, and so they go after them. They call in like the Coast Guard, to apprehend the boat. We don't see Andrassy and get caught. The Stefano got knocked off the boat, and they caught him, swim back to the shore. But here's where things get kind of funky. So Buzz, the kind of the creepy guy that he is throughout this film, runs over to Francesca, who's now on the shore because Chiffon/Wilby saved her. But she's unconscious. But when she wakes up, Buzz is like, "Yeah, I saved you. You know, I'm the hero." And and so Wilby, who's in dog form, hears this and he loses it. So they start fighting. Like, "You didn't save her, I did." Blah blah blah. Okay, Wilby turns back into the boy, and Chiffon shows up, and Chiffon's the one that gets like all the love from from Francesca. Like, "My hero. Mi amore," or whatever in French. So it's just so funny. Like, it ends up where Wilby gets no credit, and all of the accolades go to Mucci, Mr. Daniels, and Chiffon. They get all these. There's like a photographer that shows up to take all the pictures for the paper, and Chiffon gets a medal. And one fun thing about this last scene is the photographer, the guy arranging all the photos, is Jack Albertson.
Oh.
And we know Jack Albertson from Grandpa Joe in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory in '71. He makes an appearance in this. He also makes an appearance in, I believe it's Son of Flubber as well. So it's neat to see him there. So, Mucci, Wilson, and Chiffon are getting all this attention. So Buzz and Wilby, they're like, "Let's get out of here, let's take a walk." So they're walking. They start reminiscing about all the wonderful times they had with Francesca, who's now like gone off to Paris. And so like, "Well, Allison's a good girl. We should go see how she's doing." And then she comes out. She's like, "Hi, guys." And this guy drives up. And she has a date with this new dude. And he's like, "Do you know those guys?" "Oh, they're just some neighborhood children." And they're like, "Oh, the end."
Oh, the end.
Yeah, it's a fun ending. It's one of those nice little Disney endings. So that's the film. And kudos to all you guys that stuck around. Remember, if you guys want a copy of the audio from this album here. Oh, I have another picture to show. Oh yeah, there's the end. There's Fred MacMurray and Sam and Gene Hagen.
There's here.
All of a sudden, Fred's not allergic to dogs anymore.
Well, no, he still is. Remember, he
had a little itch, right?
He loves dogs now and thinks that they should get medals.
So, a couple of questions are coming in. Oh, hi, Jim. Thanks, Elmer. And why is Roberta Short on that cover? Oh, the cover of that book. Yeah, we talked about that. And the reason why is she had a significant role in this film, but she also was a major voice artist on the original Shaggy Dog soundtrack or album. Not really a soundtrack album, but she sang a couple of songs, including C'est Chiffon. She sang the Shaggy Dog theme song and also the finale. So she had a leading role. So she's pictured prominently on that book there. I like that. I like that they did that for her.
Yeah, me too. That was nice.
So do you have any final fun facts to share? I have a whole bunch of them here, but I think we covered a lot of them. So
you guys probably already know this, but they had the sequel to Shaggy DA in 1976 with Dean Jones and Susan Chet. But then in 1987, on The Wonderful World of Disney, they made a TV movie called The Return of the Shaggy Dog. And apparently that takes place after this original story, but before the Shaggy DA. I actually have not seen that one.
I don't even want to see it. Is that the one with Tim Allen?
No, it was in 87. It was actually written by Paul Haggis, who wrote.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then they made it for TV in 1994, and Scott Weinger, who is the voice of Aladdin, he played Wilby. And then they also remade it again in 2006, and that was the one with Tim Allen. Which that's
okay. Roberta Shore was too tall to be a Mouseketeer. Yeah, I believe that. She was tall.
She was tall. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think she was a little bit too what's the word? She was a bit too womanly, I think. She didn't give off that youthful vibe. I think she was 15 in this movie. Do you know that?
Yeah. Yeah.
But she was already very, I guess shapely. Yeah, Jim didn't like the Tim Allen one. I haven't seen that one either, but maybe that's why she didn't come back around. But I don't know, just a beautiful young woman, and she did a wonderful job in this picture.
She didn't have to play kids anymore.
She could have been like one of the. Did she sing on the Mickey Mouse Club too? I don't know. I don't know if she appeared in any episodes. She was on the Annette serial, so that she sang several songs in that one, including one of my favorite songs was it "The Jump to Conclusions"? Did she sing that one? What was the song she sang and played the piano? Do you remember that one?
I have full disclosure, I've not seen the Annette.
Oh, you haven't seen it? Oh, okay.
I just got the DVD.
Oh, great. Yeah, it's a must-see. You'll love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll absolutely love it. I'll have to look up her involvement with the Mickey Mouse Club. So, Reading, Writing, Arithmetic. That's the song she sang. It's like the reading, writing, arithmetic are the 3 R's today. Annette stole my necklace at the party. I hate you, Annette. I'm going to beat you up at the malt shop after school. Spoilers. I'm sorry. The Annette serials is so good. You're going to love it. I wish I was in your position where I could watch that without knowing everything that happened. It's so good. Love it.
One thing I will say to everyone, if you watch this on DVD, don't watch the color version.
Oh, yeah, don't.
It's the wrong aspect ratio and it's not colored. It was not colored very well. It was colored for a release on TV in the 80s. And so it wasn't colored in the correct aspect ratio, and it just is not as...
It's very grainy looking, too. It's like the copy of the DVD that we have here, this one has the color version on it.
Yeah.
Yep. I found it to be really grainy, but the black and white original remastered is really good. It's
really good.
It's just as good as I think it's in the same aspect ratio that the Disney Plus version is.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's really clean. So my battery went dead, so 20%, so lost me for a sec. Yeah, stick to black and white over color. I can't even watch the color version of It's a Wonderful Life. So.
Yeah, also did a colored Absent Professor in the 80s as well, and it's just not good.
Yeah, you see that through some of the special features in the Shaggy Dog DVD, the Remembering Fred MacMurray and the Shaggy Dog Kids. You see some cuts to the... I don't know why Disney put they were pushing the color version for some reason of the Absent-Minded Professor. Anyway, so we'll wrap this up with a few fun facts. I like this one with Bill Walsh. He always liked to talk about the Shaggy Dog being a springboard for Fred MacMurray and My Three Sons. So My Three Sons was had a long running on ABC, and then CBS had Considine was in that as well, and their dog was a Shaggy Dog. Yeah, so much for keeping to an hour. You're right. Well, we just love this stuff so much, and we love talking about it. One other thing I didn't mention this, though, the steering. There's this great little quote here that I have about how they got the dog to drive the car. So they said, for the dog, we made little gloves out of fur and laced them to the steering wheel. So whenever you saw the dog at the wheel, it looked like his paws were gripping the wheel, but in reality, his paws were inside the gloves. And the dog's steering wheel was connected with the steering wheel of the stuntman. Kerry Lofton is the stuntman. And so when the stuntman turned his wheel, the wheel the dog was connected to also turned. So it looked like he was steering all around the studio backlot there and the Universal backlot. Just so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a little. Sorry to give away the magic there, but you know that's movie making for you. Yeah. Let's see. A lot of these we already talked about.
The band that played at the dance,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
apparently a band from Roberta Shores High School.
Yeah, San Gabriel High School.
Yeah.
That was her high school band. Paul Revere.
Oh,
Nobody knew. In the commentary, none of them knew what a Paul Revere dance was, but apparently that's the dance that makes you turn back into a dog. So
the one other thing, and it's not really a fun fact, but it was interesting to me, is Kevin Corcoran's father passed away during filming of this.
oh yeah, I heard that. Yeah. That was Kevin Corcoran's dad, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
in fact, well, they were praising Disney for the fact that Walt kind of scheduled his scenes around that to let him grieve and stuff like that. But it just proves how good of an actor he is to begin, once again, the fact that he was dealing with one of the worst things that could ever happen to him at that amount of an age, and
Yeah.
put out that performance.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he was a professional from a young age. I mean, I think he was just naturally talented. I think he could really put himself in the story, 100%.
Absolutely.
And everything that he's done was great. I think he threw himself into every role. So, well, that's the Shaggy Dog. Any final comments?
No, I just
Anything?
for saying.
Yeah. This was Sam the Dog's only movie. He retired and his paw prints were in cement outside the Burbank Animal Shelter. That's a cool fun fact.
Oh,
Thanks, M Skaters. I didn't know that.
Is it still there? I don't live by it.
Yeah. I want to go see it. So, like we said in the beginning, this just really jump-started Disney's involvement into the comedy genre, and a very successful venture into this genre. I think some of our favorite Disney movies are these wacky comedies.
Yeah.
And this just it was a springboard for Fred MacMurray. It kind of was the beginning of that Disney family, which I love about Disney films. It's like from one film to the next, there's always a recognizable character, someone that you love from the previous release. It just felt like you were part of this family, and then when you were watching the movie, it was like you were invited into this family and you're experiencing all these crazy adventures with them. And they're just characters that you just fall in love with. It's like almost naturally, like they're your brother, your sister, or Fred MacMurray's your dad, or whoever his wife is in the film, it's your mom. And it's just such a warm, wholesome kind of feeling that you get, like almost like a warm hug. It's like going to Disneyland. This whole era of Disney and the Disney company is just my favorite. It's many others' favorites because everything's just so inviting, and it's just great American culture of the time. So like when I think of what is American culture, I think of this as being like a significant part of like not only pop culture, but this is really like early like 1950s, 60s American culture. And so I can always look to this as like something that shaped who I am today. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
You're right. Yeah. You're absolutely sense to me. I mean, this is what I grew up on, and this memories of it all. And it is like a warm, like as goofy as it sounds, it's like a lot of people today they'll be like, I have this comfort show. I'm going to sit and watch Friends, because I just want to escape from the world. I'm going to rewatch all of this kind of stuff. And that's how I feel with these movies. Like, if I just escape from reality for a couple of hours.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same way. It's just so much fun.
Yeah.
It's just so comforting. It's like a chocolate chip cookie and a glass of milk. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just something. This is what I like to turn to, when I have a rough day or I just need to feel some peace. I'm always satisfied watching this stuff, or even just coming on here and talking. That's why we can talk for 2 hours. We went longer than the running time of the film today.
We did.
And I love all these comments, people coming in, like from kids to family, my childhood and my adulthood. We're all watching these. I was a kid at the right time. Love these. I have to go. Oh, Michelle, thanks for joining. I hope you can join us next time.
Thank you, everyone.
And yeah, it is. It's like comfort food. Yeah, M Skaters, you're the best. Everybody's so great in this chat. I love all you guys, and it's so much fun sharing this stuff with you. And I hope we can come together in a couple weeks, and we'll think about what we're gonna do. I have no idea what it's gonna be, but
we should
maybe
figure out some sort of way to do a poll, and you guys.
Okay. Yep. Throw out some suggestions here in the last minute, and we'll read them here. What's the next movie we should talk about? I think we should. Well, I'd like to do Pollyanna someday, but we just did a Haley Mills film, so we need to do something that needs maybe Big Red.
We could do Big Red.
That would be interesting. I don't know how much of a crowd we'd get, but yeah. But anyways, we're at the 2-hour mark, and have we done Sword in the Rose? No, we haven't done any of those early British films. Oh, Babes in Toyland, we thought about that. Adventures of maybe that's it. Maybe Bullet Griffin is what we'll do. Yeah, we haven't done any of those movies. Oh, my YouTube video is playing here.
We were thinking about Babes in Toyland, but maybe closer to the holidays.
Yeah, that's right. We're gonna do that around Christmas time. So yeah, a couple votes for Bullet Griffin. So yeah, we could probably do a show with the girls from San Francisco. Something Kurt Russell. Yeah, okay. I think we got our next two. We'll do Bullwhip Griffin and maybe The Strongest Man in the World or something like that. That's my favorite from the Dexter Riley trilogy.
It is?
I love it because Joe Flynn is hilarious in it.
Joe Flynn is insane in all of them.
Yeah, I know. Oh, maybe Follow Me Boys. How about that? Oh, that's got Kurt Russell. I want to stick to the 60s as much as we can. So, yeah. Follow Me Boys. Why it's not on Disney Plus, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's wrap this up. Thanks everybody for the suggestions. We'll mull those over. Jared and I will discuss and come up with something, and we'll be back in 2 or 3 weeks, depending on our work schedules. And thanks for joining in. Hope you enjoyed the Shaggy Dog, and we'll talk to y'all later.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone.